It's nice. But we are in a society where virtually every person is professional. You see people answer title engineer. When you find out how they obtain that title, you just discover that either they work at a mechanic workshop and they are not mechanical engineer. Somebody who got trained as a roadside electrician is now an electrical engineer, because Nigerians are interested in title. And so every person wants to be a professional. And when you meet some persons that let professional do your job, they look at cost, they look at other implications and feel that let me go through the shortcut. And of course, we've always seen the effect: collapsed buildings, job done not properly supervised, and so many other issues. Now, here we are again looking at the benefit of using professionals to manage property, both public and private.
I recall once in the scriptures when people accused Moses or brought to his attention. Some people are acting as prophets. So what did he respond? Or how did he respond? He said, I wish all of them were prophets. The truth is that I wish everybody were professionals. That would actually calm so many things with respect to matters that requires professionalism. I wouldn't want to talk about the quacks and how they present themselves as professionals and the trouble therein. But let's talk a little about management. One of our research personnel, Michael Suncroft, if I'm not wrong, once described management as a direction and supervision of an interest in landed property with the objective of achieving the best gains possible. And that best gain possible could be, financial, social, political, etc. In those words, you find direction and supervision of an interest in landed property. Here, this direction and supervision is not limited to commercial buildings or commercial properties. For instance, if 3 of us seated here owned properties, you realize that we no longer pay rent. But our properties need to be properly directed and supervised so that it will meet up with the initial goal. And the initial goal is to have an accommodation where you can, keep yourself, your family, and even hand over to your children. For public buildings, public officers do not pay rent when they carry out their duties. So it's not a commercial building. But the question is, do public buildings need property managers or facilities managers? The answer is obviously yes. Take for instance the beautiful and well designed state secretariat. You realize that there are so many things that have been put into that secretariat, and they all must work in synchrony. If they don't work in synchrony, you will find out that you are there just as my senior is well decked in suit, but he will remove his suit and be fanning himself because of power. So power will make him to start dressing down, just one element. If there is a plumbing issue, it means that you can't use the restroom, right? And so on and so forth. So for public buildings, all public buildings need the services of professionals to manage and maintain them. Going forward, who should do this maintenance and management? Not the street person who parades himself as a professional, but someone who has the academic practical knowledge and who is certified by law to carry out that assignment. For instance, you just mentioned something. If you're asked to supervise a building project when you have zero knowledge of building, I'm sure you know that building will collapse from the beginning, right? But that will not be your portion. So the point is that on a lighter mode, we want to request that stakeholders should open their eyes to seeing the need why professionals should be used. Going back to the State Secretariat, for instance, as a case study, you'll find out that the power facility is enough trouble. The plumbing facility is enough trouble. Perhaps the structure is sound. We trust that it is sound. So you might not be worried about, cracks or, major cracks that will be requiring, main patches and all that. But these other facilities, that are there and that are used on a daily basis need supervision. However, this is not to say that because XYZ company is an estate surveying and valuation firm, therefore he is automatically an electrician. So that when there is an electrical surge or the electrical trouble, he becomes an electrician. Or when there is a plumbing work, he automatically becomes a plumber. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that this professional knows who to bring out and at what time and why. Because he's someone who has been trained in the built-up environment. In fact, building construction, architecture, town planning, and all other, courses in the built-up environment are the things he has studied and he's practicing. So it is easy for him to determine who comes at what stage. Come to other buildings or facilities like hotels, for instance. You find out that for a hotel to run efficiently, you also need a sound property or facility manager to ensure that everything synchronizes. Up to car park, up to security personnel, up to everything that will make for the property, to meet or to be at its best. This, radio station, for instance, or this media house, for example, needs a facility manager to ensure that all the building components and everything that will make it functional is there. So, coming back to the issue of those who parade themselves as professionals and why some persons prefer them to professionals because they are running away from cost. That is actually what we see, and that explains why we have some collapsed buildings or some designs that you wonder what the problem is. For instance, A may be a plumber and he's good at his plumbing work. B may be an electrical person and he's good at his electrical work. But I also want to let you know that in a saner environment or in a saner climate, when you are carrying out your design, your building design or architectural design, do you know that just as you have your architectural design, you are supposed to have your electrical design, you are supposed to have your plumbing design, right? You are supposed to have your site plan, all these done by professionals, so that when there is a fault in the property, you don't even need to call a plumber from somewhere who will start tracing where the problem is from. He refers to the design and gets it right. Especially when you are building or looking at properties that are beyond one floor, where pipes are buried in between mass concrete. You need the design so that the person should be able to, with the design on the paper, he should be able to trace or track a potential area where this fault is coming from. So when you now call that person who is on the street, who has zero knowledge of how these facilities have been configured, you are giving him more trouble. And you see him opening up areas that shouldn't be touched, and so on and so forth. So the point is this: from the beginning, we actually have to start it right. When you are designing, use a certified architect. Do not use the street draftsman, not just even a draftsman, the person who knows how to use ArchiCAD and maybe AutoCAD. Somebody may know how to use ArchiCAD and AutoCAD, but he doesn't know the principle of designing. When it comes to matters of structural, please look for a structural engineer and pay him. So that when the chips are done, when push comes to shove, that person will take responsibility for for what has happened. And holistically, in all these processes, involve the estate surveyor and valuer. Because eventually everybody will pull out. The architect will pull out when he's done. The builder will pull out. The town planner will pull out. And there is only one man that will be standing. That's the estate surveyor and valuer, who will ensure that this property runs at its best. And when there is a challenge, he now refers to those whom, he refers to the right person to correct that thing. And he also observes. So going forward is a clarion call to people who own properties, facilities. Some people will tell you, like we've once said here, he who pays the piper takes the tune. So I have my money. I tell you, I bring my brothers from wherever. After all, I have built houses and I have done it myself and all that. All these, see, everything about building, construction, and designing, they have their principles. And if you fail in applying those principles, you will spend more, because the cost of rehabilitating a fault is far more expensive than the cost of doing it right from the beginning. I'll leave it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.